Welcome. We are here at the Kentucky Guild of Artists and Craftsmen in Berea. The Guild and gift shop are located in the Artisan Village in Old Town off of Broadway. My name is Tonya, and I work at Sanders Brown Center on Aging. For today's video, we are going to be painting some impressionistic dandelions. This is a very beginner-friendly video, so grab your paint and let's begin. Let's begin. First, I'm going to start by wetting my brush and getting a little bit of this blue that was left over on my palette. This is a combination of ultramarine blue and phthalo blue. Here, let me get some more out. And now we're going to just draw some little buttons. The buttons are going to be our dandelions. So we'll start here. Make a little button, a little flat on the bottom, a little dome on top, one little button. Let's do one over here. And maybe a larger one just off center up here. Now let's fill in our buttons a little bit, give them a little character. There we go. And now we're going to give our buttons some little hairs. These, we're just going to flick them out to the sides, kind of like we're giving them eyelashes. They look like little amoebas once you get all the hairs on them. Okay, and now let's put in the stems. I'm gonna get a little extra water on my brush, get some of the blue. I'm gonna roll it to get a fine point and draw in some stems. We want our stems to converge down here. So let's just start. There's one. Another one, and finally the big guy. There we go. So while we let that dry for a moment, I'm going to switch gears. I'm going to rinse out my brush and get a little bit of yellow. We're going to put in our big fuzzy bee right around here. So let's get a lot of yellow on our brush. We're going to paint kind of a bean shape. It's going to be our bee. Now, we don't like skinny bees, we like fluffy bees. So make sure you got a good fat bee, and we're going to fluff them up with a little bit of hairs. Okay. There. I'm going to add a little more color to the bee with a little bit of orange. I'm going to do this before the paint dries because I want the colors to mix together. Put a little blob of orange. Let it melt in. Now we're going to make some bee wings. So I'm going to get a little more of my Payne's Gray, thin it out a little bit for a delicate line. And we'll start about here and make a line out, under, and back. See how that happened there? I'm not unhappy about that. That happens in watercolor. That is just the mixing together. In our wings. Now we're going to let that have a little dry and go back to our flowers. Now we're going to add in our leaves. Dandelion leaves are usually a little pointy, so I'll remember to do that. We're going to start right here, and I'm going to use a light kind of flicking motion. It doesn't have to be exact, just loose little flicking motions, like that. Let's do more. I'm going to make 4 of them total. And now let's add a little bit of grass. Hide our stems, on some grass. And now I'm going to add a little contrast to the ultramarine blue with some phthalo blue, just to outline our leaves a little bit. Get some water and some phthalo blue, and we're just going to go back over the leaves we've done, just lightly outlining them. Just light, loose lines. Let's see. Just the flicking motion. There we go. We'll rinse our brush. Now for the fun part, we're going to make our dandelions. I'm going to clean my brush real well and load it up with some wet water. Of course, water is always wet, sorry about that. And let me go around. We're going to make the paper wet, but we don't want it so wet that fish can swim in it. We just want it to be a little shiny. So we go around, and now let's add some color to our dandelion. Get a little pink. I'm just going to lightly dance my brush around the inside. You can see how the watercolor is just melting into the liquid. Now I'm going to dance my brush again on the outside of the water line. So we want our dandelions to be fluffy. Okay, now let's add a little orange. Maybe a little orange, maybe a little yellow. It's up to you. Just little blobs of color. Since the paper's still wet, they'll grow and expand. Add a little yellow. Okay, and now let's work on our other dandelions. We're gonna do the same thing. Rinse my brush out really well so there's no paint left on it, and go around our dandelion. Okay, going to do the same thing, get a little bit of pink. Lightly flick or dance around the line, around the middle of the dandelion, and then around the outside. Now let's add some orange. Just wherever you like it around the flower. Maybe a little yellow. Now rinse my brush out again for the last dandelion. There we go. Get a little more pink. Just lightly flicking the brush around the edges. Back to our orange. Maybe a little more yellow. Okay, now we're going to go back to our bee. We gotta give our bee some character. Our bee needs some stripes. So I'm going to get into my black again. And make him a little bee head. And maybe some stripes. A few there, a couple here. And now we need to make him some legs and some antennae. Let's get the brush loaded up. We're going to turn it to get a fine point. And let's start with our legs. First we make a nice little bee thigh, little dot, and flick. Another little bee thigh, dot, and flick. I think bees have 6 legs, but we can't see them all from the vantage spot we have here, so I'm just gonna put in 4. Now let's fill in our wings. We're going to use a little bit of yellow mixed in with a little bit of the black. I'm going to just lightly brush our wings. Oh, and before I forget, I got to add my antenna. Flick and flick. Now you might think this is the end, and it can be if you don't want to do the next step. The next step I think is the most fun step, is we're going to splash paint the colors that we used all over the painting. So let's get some more pink. I'm gonna get my brush really wet this time, and we're going to splatter. This kind of gives the piece, I feel, some movement, some more energy than just sitting there. Let's rinse that out. Get some orange. Get it good and wet. And just tap your brush. And let's get a little blue. And a little yellow for the bumblebee. And there you go. Thank you for watching this video. If you would like more information on the Kentucky Guild of Artists and Craftsmen, please contact Jeanette Rowlett at info@kentuckyguild.com. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Bye.